Wes, you know what's really, really informative for listeners?
Yeah, go on.
Like, you know what's like the best thing to do in FPL content, apparently? What you do is you wait until the deadline's passed, and at that stage you put out content about that game week, because, you know, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's what we tried to do last week.
Yeah, that was a big balls up from both of us there. So for those who don't know, we obviously do a weekly video later on in the week, closer to the deadline, usually sort of Thursday 8 PM on Fantasy Football Hub's YouTube channel. But this week we had to do it at Friday 8 PM because of other commitments. And then it gets closer to Friday and we realise it's a Friday deadline and we've ballsed up. And yeah, we try and rearrange it. And I still had the bad cough thing that I've got. So we didn't do it last week. So yeah, apologies for that. But just a complete balls up, John, by both of us, wasn't it?
We were, like, do you know what it is? We were trying to be too good and schedule too far ahead. And we kind of looked at all the deadlines. And I think one of the fixtures was moved from a Saturday to a Friday or something. Yeah. Because when we originally planned it was definitely bang on.
Yeah.
And then we only noticed it a few days in advance and kind of shat ourselves and just cancelled it. So, yeah. Thankfully, we're not big time enough now that anyone really cares, but just an apology to anyone who rocked up. But I don't think we've had any messages of people giving out to us yet. Maybe you have. Not
a couple, but not too bad. And I did get a couple of tweets about it. But yeah, we will be back this week, Thursday 8 PM. Last week was just an unfortunate one.
Yep, Thursday 8 PM on Fantasy Football Hub's YouTube channel. I might actually stick a link in the description and people could click it, go over, and you can set a reminder or subscribe, and then you won't miss it when it happens. Yeah, there might be, I'm not sure if there's Europa League football on of any interest this week on Thursday, but you know, you can have us on your phone, it in the TV, or just prioritise us. Anyway, in other news ways, one thing, just as a little kind of preamble, Lamela's Rabona goal.
Oh yeah, that was so nice.
That's like goal of the season shit. That's something that you don't see every 5 years in the Premier League. That's a beautiful, beautiful goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, so nice. And I feel like I've, over the last few weeks, watched a lot of like boring games or 0-0s or just like scrappy goals or whatever. But yeah, there was the Dwight McNeil goal this weekend as well at Goodison Park. I don't know if you saw that one.
I actually missed it. Yeah.
Go and watch that one as well. It's not as obviously unique as the Rabona one, but that one's definitely worth a watch as well. That was beautiful. And yeah, that Rabona goal actually was a nutmeg as well on the Arsenal defender, wasn't it? And it was it was absolutely delicious. Lamela's done one a few years ago for Spurs as well, hasn't he? In Europe, I think it was. Like, I'm talking back at White Hart Lane like 5-6 years ago. But yeah, this one was special. Just sort of so delicate as well. Like, he didn't blast it, just sort of into the corner. Yeah, so nice.
Do you know? And let me just check this. You can probably hear me typing. Does anyone remember? I remember growing up, and like one of like the things that like one of the things in football that was like a real, I don't know what's the word. It was mythical almost. It was just like, holy shit. There's a few things. There used to be a player who used to just header the ball and run with it up the pitch. There was obviously the scorpion kick from the goalkeeper. Was he Colombian? Was he? And then there was one of the big ones for me was Ricardo Quaresma. I don't know if you remember him, the Portuguese winger.
I do,
who was absolutely electric for a while. And he kept scoring Rabonas from like the right hand side of the box from miles out. It was like his thing.
Yeah.
And I remember that kind of is what one of the things that got me into football big time.
Yeah.
Taking us off on a big tangent there, but there's just something
nice. So yeah, I was just going to jump in and say that those sort of showboat players, like, you always remember them for years, like Ronaldinho, even someone like JJ Okocha at Bolton in sort of Premier League in, what was it, the early noughties, sort of just doing rainbow flicks over like the Arsenal Invincible players' heads and carrying on. And it's a really good point. I think those players really make you fall in love with football, and they stay in the memory bank for a long time.
Do you remember even Yannick Bolasie a couple of seasons ago did some filthy piece of skill? Was he playing for Everton or Palace at the time? I can't remember.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. It was outrageous. He had some skills in the locker. He did.
He was incredible at it. Anyway, that's a little tangent. Shout out to all those Flair players, and shout out to you, Wes. You've got some videos out there of you doing weird shit in your back garden with balls in the bins.
I have, yeah, and luckily I get to edit that and take a few different takes.
That's it, yeah.
Still, I'm still proud of it.
Maybe you can recreate the Lamela goal for our listeners someday.
Yeah, I'll do that in the summer. I'll be producing more of those videos, yeah, so that'll be good.
Good, man. Well, look, let's go. Let's get into the podcast. All right, Wes, this week we're going to flip it on its head, just keep the listener guessing, you know. Maybe they'll skip, maybe they'll love to listen to this. But we're going to start with rounding up our kind of game weeks so far. We are recording this before the Wolves and Liverpool game on Monday. So everything we say, take it with a pinch of salt in regards Wolves and Liverpool's fixture. But we'll talk about our game week so far. And yeah, we'll get into transfers, captaincy to wrap up the show. There's a bunch of questions and big topics in the middle, including City's rotation, notable injuries, particularly for those game week 29 players. And also we'll talk and look ahead a small bit to that blank game week 33. So my game week, I think it's decent. I think it's a pretty good game week, to be honest with you.
I think yours, isn't it?
Yeah, back into the top 10k. Probably won't last past the Liverpool fixture. Sitting at 9,458th. At Martinez in goal, target, which was heartbreaking, to be honest with you. That was 2 clean sheets plus some bonus points. Thankfully, Target got an assist, but it could have been so much better, really. So that was a heartbreak to start the game week. Stones and Cancelo, big scores, double digits, lovely. Bruno Fernandes brought in Gareth Bale and Son for Salah and Harvey Barnes. 2 points between them. Son off after something like 19 minutes, was it?
Something like that.
18 minutes. Grim. Gundogan didn't play, so Rafinha's going to come in. Kind of gutted because I actually had Dallas ahead of him on the bench and I switched it last minute. But that's just, I don't know, it's not that big a deal. But
I think it was the right decision, yeah.
Yeah, Bamford, 1 point. Calvert-Lewin thankfully got a goal, 6-pointer. And the big one for me this week was a captain of Jamie Vardy.
Nice.
I was talking last week, I was saying it's Bruno or Vardy. I was actually going to get rid of Vardy for Kane. And I think it was on podcast we discussed and sort of said, like, it made sense. You know, Vardy at Sheffield at home, keep him and then transfer him out this week for Kane. Don't know if I have it in me to do it now. It's probably the obvious move, but I'm happy I stuck the captain on him, and the logic was if you have Jamie Vardy and you're not going to captain him at home to Sheffield, what the fuck are you doing with Jamie Vardy? But 71 points, probably 74 when Rafinha comes in, 74 all out. Yeah, solid game week I think this week.
Yeah, very good game week for you, and like you say, I think, and we spoke on WhatsApp, didn't we, off air, and you was kind of tempted this week by early transfers because you had the exact money, but then you kind of, we discussed it, and then you kind of was like, I'll wait, more information, etc., Europa League, and I think you decided that you'd free up money elsewhere or whatever. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the reason why I always like to avoid early transfers where possible, I have made them in the past many times, but where possible I do like to avoid them. And another reason for that is not only injuries can happen and COVID and whatever else, it's actually the fact that you can actually change your mind and you need more thinking time. You need to see how things develop, and what you actually thought about over the course of the week was actually, why would I transfer out Vardy at home to Sheffield United? Kane's got Arsenal. I can wait a week and do it the following week when it makes sense to do it. So yeah, just that extra thinking time helped you come to the right decision. You kept Vardy, and then you did a fairly ballsy move and captained him because he wasn't on the best form. But yeah, you kind of played the fixture and it paid off for you. So yeah, great move.
Yeah, I'm happy. It was when I think I actually had already had him locked in. Was it when Wilder was fired, or maybe I even missed the news? But whenever it happened, I was like, all right, this could be a big one. And I'm told, I didn't see the game again, but I was told he could have had 2 goals instead of assists, or as well as, I'm not sure, but it could have been much better. But I'm happy with that.
I think as well as, but like you say, you've just got to take it as you'd have taken that before the game, wouldn't you? A 13-pointer.
Oh, I'd bet your arm off for it, particularly with some of the big solid captaincy options, like Fernandes and Kane not doing great. So yeah, happy out, Wes. How did your week go?
Lovely. Yeah, so not as good as that, but still a green arrow from... I'm on 53 with Salah to come, and I've gone from around, I think I was around 36, 37k, up to around, once the substitutes are added, I think I'll be around 30k. So, little green arrow, or little to medium, happy enough. Had decent defence, Cancelo with 12, Shaw with 9, Rudiger with 6. I had the same issue as you. I didn't know it at the time. I had Martinez and Konsa first sub, and obviously Gundogan didn't play, so I didn't realise it at the time, but I actually lost out on that double clean sheet with that last minute goal as well. So yeah, that's a frustrating one. In midfield, Rafinha, Fernandes, Gundogan, and Salah still to come, so nothing much from my midfielders. Calvert-Lewin with a goal, but that's a frustrating one for me because I guess before the game, 6 points for Calvert-Lewin, I'd have taken it, but he had a good couple of other chances to score, and no bonus points. So that second goal would have been like a 7-point goal. When your strikers obviously got that one goal but no bonus, that second goal is going to propel them into that sort of 3 bonus category. That it's would have been really.
Yeah, it's like it's not just like 4 points a goal. It's like 4 points for the first and 7 points for the second.
Yeah. He was miles. When I checked the bonus, he was miles down. I think those missed chances, and I don't know, maybe committed a couple of fouls. I'm not sure. Watkins got an assist for a shot that was going slightly off target, and Kane captaincy fail. Didn't do much until the last sort of 15 minutes. Kane, and then he hit the post, had a goal ruled out for offside. So yeah, sort of. Don't know. I'm always happy if I'm getting a green arrow. So overall, I am happy. But it's always the way with FPL. You watch it and you're always thinking, oh, my captain's hit the post. My captain's had a goal that's allowed for offside. But, it's one of those. Kane/Spurs didn't play very well in that game. And, yeah, your captain's not going to return every week. So, yeah, it's just one of those. And, I got fairly fortunate with the defence doing really well. So, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I think solid enough game week. We're both heartbroken by the double Aston Villa clean-out. A lot of people will be.
Yeah.
You have managed to avoid the kind of first topic I think we're going to talk about this week, unless you want to go into these teams ananymore.
No. We've bored the listeners enough with our team, I think.
I've been hit with both of them, which is Bamford and Son. And, there's Saka we're kind of thrown into that bracket because a lot of people are caring about him these days. Yeah. Obviously, Arsenal are looking a bit better and Saka's amazing. But, you don't have any flags at the minute.
No, yeah.
We'll get on to your kind of issue, which is maybe the Gundogan in the middle of the park. I have him as well. But in terms of injuries, so many people would have had anyway and even more have now because of game week 29. Like, Son is owned by 54%, Bamford is owned by 49%. A large percentage of the game have both yellow flagged. There's Saka as well, who I don't know too much about. Looking at Premier injuries here with Ben Crellin, I think it just says, it's an injury, it's a hamstring, we're not really sure. It's kind of the vibe.
Yeah. I'll just jump in, and it was actually Ben Dinnery who was meant to credit there for that website.
Ben Crellin is the fixture guy who I was looking at. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ben Crellin's sheet later with Game Week 33.
There's too many Bens in who are famous in the FPL world.
I know, these 100k Bens.
Yeah. So, in terms of the injuries, it's come at a bad time when there's obviously the blank game week coming up, because, say for your team, John, you'd have been maybe able to, just bench those guys for 1 week and rely on your bench, or, just make a transfer, no big deal. But those were the players who Bamford, Saka and Son all have a game, or their teams all have a game in week 29. So they're the players you're kind of relying on because everyone's building towards that. So if you've got a free hit chip, then it's worked out quite nicely for you. In terms of how their injuries are looking, I know you've got the website up in front of you, John, so I think from initial stuff, it's looking unlikely Son will play this week. Bamford's got a better chance of playing, as his was just sort of a dead leg, and Saka again was muscular. I believe it was hamstring, so I'd be surprised. It's very rare that someone goes off with hamstring issues and plays the next game, unless that player has been really smart and actually managed to get off with just a precaution. But even still, even when they come off precautionary, it's very unlikely that those two with the sort of hamstring issues, Saka and Son, will play this game week. But I think the sort of key learning here is just, as always, wait till nearer the deadline. More information should hopefully emerge, and you'll be better placed to make any decision.
Absolutely. And shout out to Colm Hayes, who is like a Ben Dinnery Jr. in a way, in terms of like how new. I think Ben was the kind of the original guy, the OG in terms of all this, and Colm Hayes has put out some great stuff in terms of managers' quotes on injuries and things. So I'm gonna do something ways to hopefully give you a bit of a giggle and fill people in on Jose Mourinho's quotes on Heung-min Son. I don't know why I'm doing it. To be honest with you, I think it's because of my Football Index podcast before. I did it once and I was really, really bad at it, and people found it either funny or painful, both of which make good radio. So I'm going to try and be Jose Mourinho and tell you a little bit about Son Heung-min. This is according to 3 hours ago. Quotes from Sunday. So I don't know how long it is. It is muscular. No, he's not like Eastern European.
I was going to say that sounded East European.
You'll know I think, I don't know how, oh God, I don't know how long, fuck this, Wes, I think I just have to read it. It is muscular. Muscular is always not easy. He's a guy that normally he recovers very, very well from any kind of injury. That's so bad. And that's football. That's accumulation of matches. In the Europa League, I gave him 30 minutes rest, so 90 minus 30 is 60, but 60 is still 60. And when there are so many competitions, some players, they have more minutes than others, which is normal. It's something that can happen. So, yeah, it's muscular.
Great impression.
It was fucking terrible. I actually thought it'd be better.
Top notch.
I really
if anyone
thought
Portuguese
it'd be better.
is listening, then let us know how that sounded.
Or anyone from like Eastern Europe. Probably insulted you as well. I probably insulted half the globe with that, really.
Yeah, it's very insulting, that.
Anyway, so yeah, Heung-min Son does not look likely. Owned by a massive percentage of the game, 54.5%.
And also for players like, I'd kind of been in my head thinking about my transfers and drafting what I would potentially do, and obviously because I didn't have Son was one of he was my top target to bring in this week. So anyone, I bet if you looked at FPL as well, you'll see like Son's probably been transferred in this game week by thousands of managers who have moved early, and now they'll be stumped. I'm just trying to bring that stat up now.
I've seen something like 13,000 people had brought in. Who got the red card? There was some crazy stat I seen of early movers by getting someone who was terrible this week.
Yeah, so this week 34,467 people have bought in Son for this week. So I'm guessing the majority of those moved before obviously Arsenal kicked off on the Sunday, trying to beat price changes and all that sort of stuff. And those 34,000 managers, which is a lot, is the fifth most highest midfielder transfer in this week. So yeah, tough one.
Well, yeah, so on the injuries, Son, bit of a probably out. Saka, muscular, don't really know, probably out, I would say. Bamford, dead leg. He'll be back, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's my kind of assessment of it.
Yeah, that's how, right now, obviously, like you said, we're recording on the Monday. That's, I think, the general consensus, or that's my kind of feeling on it. But yeah, wait for news and keep checking those guys that we've mentioned so far. As
we always say, pull the trigger late in the week. Leave it till Friday. Yeah. Leave it till Thursday, whenever. Late in the week after European fixtures. I'm assuming they are this week. I haven't actually checked. Yeah. There's just so much football at the minute.
Yeah, it's non-stop, isn't it? But yeah, I'm pretty sure. Again, I'm not 100%.
There is.
It is, yeah.
So Arsenal, Tottenham play, Man United play, all on Thursday night, which is late in the week. You need to wait till those games are done. Yeah. We also have Chelsea in the Champions League and Man City. So, if you've made your transfers already, you're an idiot. If you haven't, don't. Is basically it. Another one there then. Moving on, they have got Champions League football. They're up against Bayern Mönchengladbach. I'd love to hear you try and say that, Wes, but I've already given the game away. Yeah. City rotation is becoming a bit of a ball ache again. There seemed to be a while there where Stones seemed pretty nailed. Diaz was nailed. Now there's a bit of rotation there. Gundogan is getting rotated. He was nailed for so long with KDB out, and now neither of them play. Mahrez, people were starting to like. I think he got rotated. It's just
Sterling, Cancelo as well.
Vintage Pep, just vintage fucking Pep.
This is like next level stuff. Like I was like really I don't try and predict Pep, but I do have like when Sterling and Cancelo both missed the previous game week. I was like saying to people that I'm 90% sure that both Cancelo and Sterling will come back in. They've had their rest. Sterling doesn't. When does Sterling miss 2 games in a row? But he didn't even make the bench this week, and Pep said it was just tactical, just sort of resting, and he wasn't even on the bench. So Sterling I guess has been wrapped in cotton wool for the Champions League. Maybe Pep feels like they've got enough to win the league, which he's right. So that makes it very tough for FPL assets. I think the likes of the only ones that you can really call nailed would be Ederson is obviously the most nailed, and then you've probably got Diaz second. Apart from that, no one else is nailed, and Diaz, could he be, if Champions League games, when they'll be coming around thick and fast, he'll be possibly rested for those games. I don't want to kind of fearmonger people out of Diaz, because you could look at his minutes and say, look how nailed he is, and I get that. But I just think, with priority for Champions League, there's always a chance that he will wrap Diaz in cotton wool, with the likes of John Stones and Laporte being able to deputise. With City, how I'm looking at it, there's I'm looking at this next 5 game weeks as a 5 game week block. So game week 29 to game week 33 was a 5 game week block, and City don't play twice in that 5 game week period. So they've only got 3 games in the next 5 game weeks. So yeah, I don't feel any fear about taking them out, especially if, so say Gundogan, for example, if he misses just one of those 3 Premier League games, which is, you know, highly possible / likely, then he's only actually going to play 2 games in the next 5 game weeks, which is just not enough. So, you know, although I'll back him to get points in those game weeks, and good luck to those who hold him, I'll be moving him on. Likewise with Cancelo, he seems to be getting rotated quite a lot. So, yeah, I think I can kind of accept rotation when Man City haven't got blanks, but when they've got 2 blanks in the next 5, I don't really have the patience to, or I don't think it's right for my team anyway to keep those guys, so I'll be moving them on.
No, I agree. I think it's a tough one, like, because if you get the guy, if we all know that it's so heartbreaking, actually, if we really sit and think about it, that the biggest shithouse of a manager in the league, the one who rotates, is like the best FPL team in the league.
Yeah.
And has been for seasons. Do you know, it's heartbreaking. Like, I wish Pep would fuck off and manage Sheffield. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if you rotate then, Pep. Give Chris Wilder the City job or something for FPL purposes, because it's sickening, like. It's really annoying, yeah, but for me, it's one of those where, like, Gundogan, yeah, I completely understand it and get it, and I do with everyone else. But I think in defence, because I only play 3 each week anyway, I'd be half tempted to keep at least one of those City guys there. And look, if they get rotated, just have budget options that do play, and then,
yeah,
you know, like if you have your Stones or Cancelo coming in, they look good for a double-digit haul every single time they play.
Yeah.
And then,
so I want to jump in and say, yeah, I really like both Stones and Cancelo because of, especially Cancelo. I know Stones has probably got the better returns, but I actually really do like Cancelo. It's just that rotation. But yeah, when they're on the pitch, they are going to get the points. So with defenders, it's very unlikely. Well, it's going to be unlikely that John Stones comes on for the last 10 minutes, for example, and gets a 1-pointer, so, yeah, which is better for FPL, so you can potentially hold on to him. But it depends on your plans. So for me, I want to be bringing in players who actually, I'm going to be doing a -8 this week, actually. We'll get onto that later. But I've got 2 free transfers plus another 2 for a -8, so I'm going to be doing 4 transfers. So it's not, it's kind of 2 things. It allows me to get in players who have games this week and in 33 and less rotation. So over this 5 game week period, I do expect the lesser defenders or the lesser players who aren't as good as these assets we're talking about to, the theory is that my theory is that they'll outscore the City guys in their limited minutes.
It's I'm looking at City here, and, like, you know, we had Laporte come back from injury, Aguero's back from injury, competing. I mean, you look at the depth of that midfield. I think we talked about this very recently. Yeah, it's insane. They're always going to have to rotate. It's such a deep squad. And
yeah, I don't think they've got any, I could be wrong on this, but I don't think they've really got any injury concerns at the minute either.
Is it the first time since Pep took over? Did I read that somewhere? It's the first time.
Maybe. I think Ake is the only one who's kind of out, but he's like, you know, making a return from injury. I'm not saying he's going to get any game time anytime soon, but yeah, like, their squad is deep, and when they don't have injuries, that's just, and when they're fighting on 4 fronts, and their least important is probably the Premier League in terms of it's pretty much done. So that's bad for FPL. You want it to be like that year when Liverpool and City were pushed all the way to, like, they both got, what was it, like 98, 99 points, whatever it was. Because then Pep can't really afford to rotate his best players, whereas now he can. So that's a tough one for FPL. So yeah, in those last 5 games, by the time game 34 comes around, that's when I'll be looking to bring City players back in, unless I feel like rotation is still going to be too bad that maybe I can, you know, I might go most of the season without them. I have full. When I say I'm going to take out all my City assets, I do just mean my Cancelo and Gundogan. My third City asset is actually Ederson. So I've got Ederson and Martinez. I don't need money at the minute, so at the minute I'm just going to be kind of benching one expensive keeper, which isn't ideal. But yeah, I'm talking about the outfield players in this section.
I'm pretty sure that City could field like Man City Bs and they wouldn't get relegated from the Premier League.
No, definitely not.
But we'll move on. Was there something else I want to say? Aguero, I just wanted to touch on him. We all love him in the FPL for years. He's back. He got 90 minutes for the first time in the league this season, which is mad when you think about it. But he's 32. Will he get a transfer at the end of this season and piss off to some other league to kind of see out his career? I don't know. Seems like it might happen. Who knows? Yeah. But if it does, I could see, for old time's sake, Pep giving him some time in the league that's more or less wrapped up, and resting players for the Champions League.
It's an interesting one.
Do you know? So yeah, Aguero could be in our thoughts quite soon, but again, he'll just be rotated like everyone else. So maybe not at that price point. You're probably better going Vardy or upgrading to Kane. Next thing is the blank in game week 33. Now I just threw this in there because, you know, we talked about, it was a big game week 26. It was 18-19. There was a bit going on. 29 is going to be gone this week. And after it, the next thing we're looking forward to is game week 33. Now, there's only 4 teams that blank, but they're quite highly owned. Man City and Spurs, who a lot of people have triple ups. Oh, I should put the little siren in there. Let's hope I remember when I edit.
Yeah.
I hope some people enjoyed it last week. Then there's the Southampton lads, who, you know, some people might have a couple of them. And there's also Fulham, who people have been going for the defenders a bit, and maybe Lookman. So there are a lot of players there who, like, people could have quite feasibly 6-7 players out of those teams. More.
Exactly, yeah.
So you need to...
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're absolutely right to highlight those 4 teams, and especially as, you know, because there's only 8 teams playing this week and Fulham is one of them, there'll be the temptation there to go for their decent cheap options, the likes of Aina in defence. Areola is doing well, points per game. Lookman, not so much at the minute, but, you know, he would definitely be on people's radars if they were looking to save money and they wanted an option for this game week. So yeah, so that's why for me, I'm looking to steer clear of Fulham and Southampton. And another reason why, like I said, sort of taking City assets out isn't scaring me, because it helps me not have a dilemma in week 33. Because if you do wait until game week 33, then all of a sudden you look at your team and you've got triple City, like you just said, triple Spurs, and then, you know, maybe your keeper's McCarthy and you've got Aina or Areola or whatever it might be. All of a sudden you've got 6 to 8 players there who don't play in 33. And you haven't really thought about it. So yeah, it's definitely worth keeping one eye on, but it should be easiest to navigate, especially if you start now. Yeah,
it's kind of not scaring me, but it is a wee bit. Like, I'm looking at this Ben Crellin planner, and game week 38 is on the horizon, do you know? Like, matches have came so thick and fast. We've only got, 4, 8, 11, 9 more game weeks, is that correct? 10, 4?
10?
10 game weeks, great counting, great maths. John, I was very slow there. 10 game weeks left. Do you know, we're getting there. We're getting to crunch time. And I know I've burnt all my chips. I know I've basically spunked my load, and now I just have to try and maintain top 10k. It's gonna be rough.
Also, one thing to mention here is that Villa have a game to be rearranged that could be quite soon. So there's again, it's Ben Crellin who's theorising. Again, it's just a theory. It's not set in stone at all. So. But it's just something to bear in mind that Aston Villa and Everton might have a double in week 30. So, so for example, I've got Calvert-Lewin this week. Sorry, I've got Calvert-Lewin who blanks this week. You know, that could be an easy transfer to the likes of Antonio or Bamford, assuming he's fit. However, I'm kind of sceptical to do that. I might just bench Calvert-Lewin in the hope that he does get that double in game week 30. And therefore, you know, I've already got I'll have my 3 Villa plus Calvert-Lewin for that double without having to make a transfer. So it's something to bear in mind. Don't know when we'll get news about that. But yeah, it's something on the horizon anyway, for sure.
Brilliant. Wes, well, I think, will we jump into some questions?
Let's do it.
We'll do some questions, then transfers, which yours sound like they'll be pretty exciting. Mine are completely unplanned. And captaincy will be fun. So, questions. We'll just go from the top. Exiled FI FS. Is playing 5 defenders a good tactic and a decent differential given they're scoring all the points right now? So I think we discussed this briefly last week, did we? The reduction in the amount of goals, supposedly, according to stats. This game week, how are we actually looking? It was a few goals around this week, a few 3-4 goal games, and obviously the Leicester 5-0er. Only 1-0-0, a couple of 1-0s. But defenders. Are you thinking of going heavy on defenders now?
No, not particularly. The kind of plan I've drawn up for this blank week would actually be a 4-4-2, but then that would quickly revert back to a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 post this game week. So yeah, I'm not against it. It's just not something that I'll do or ever have done. I kind of think that, I don't know, I've had a relative amount of success for years now playing a certain way that if I try and get too clever by going, 5 at the back, then I'm going to miss out on, I don't know, who'd you bench out your midfielders and your strikers, or who'd you transfer out? Maybe they're not all, Kane and Fernandes have just blanked right now, but, those boys have got big scores in their lockers at any given time. They're good captaincy options. And it's just not something that I will do, but I wouldn't give the advice to someone not to do it. If they want to do it, there's definitely a way you can pull it off. But yeah, I won't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
Are you kind of similar to that?
Yeah, I don't think I would do it. I think it's more fun watching players that are more like... I'd rather watch games hoping a player's going to score for me than not concede, because it's absolutely nail-biting, horrible, terrible for the old digestive system to watch it whenever you don't want to concede.
Especially when you've... like you just experienced with the double Villa the other day.
Exactly.
Which was pretty brutal.
Yeah, 60 minutes comes, you see the points added on FPL, things are looking rosy. And then it's 75, 80 minutes and you're starting to get excited. 89 minutes in, home on a boat, and then they score and it's just soul destroying. Yeah,
and also there's over the years I've noticed that this debate comes up a lot where people put out stuff like points per million and stuff like that defenders actually score higher because they're cheaper, obviously, and when they get the big points, blah blah blah. But if you look at it and you look at all these successful managers that play year on year out and do really really well, they tend to play three defenders and therefore 7, a mixture of obviously midfielders and attack forwards there. So yeah, I just stick by that. And if the goals start flying in again, you're going to want all these appealing attackers and midfielders that it's just not for me. And I think it's just not for me.
Okay, next. In fact, one quick topic before we move on to the next question. Kelechi Iheanacho scored a 17-pointer with a hat-trick. He got a goal against Brighton. He got a goal against Burnley. He's 5 in his last 3. He's getting game time. They blank in 29. Then they've got Man City. It's almost poor timing for him, but if you're looking for a differential, 1.5% ownership, that'll probably go up this week. But the man's been on fire. Yeah,
he's one that's benefited from Harvey Barnes' injury, because that's obviously led to him getting game time. And he's taking his chances. He's kind of... he was a goal scorer at City, wasn't he? Like, he always... came off the bench, got 10 minutes, but would manage to score. Then at Leicester, it hasn't really happened for him. And then now, it's just exploded onto the scene. Obviously, hat-trick just now. But like you said, you can't just... That's the sort of simple way of thinking about it, isn't it? Just form. But then when you look at the fixtures, you realise actually it's not going to work out because he's got a blank this week. City the next. I think the earliest we want to be looking at Iheanacho is 31 onwards, isn't it? So, maybe revisit after the City game.
Absolutely. And I got a couple of messages where there's one more thing. Odegaard is coming into his own. I was obviously singing his praises, saying he could become a real solid FPL player. I'd be sort of saying next season onwards if he was to stay at Arsenal. If he keeps playing like this, I'm pretty sure he'll be going back to Real Madrid. I'm not saying to bring him in, but a lot of people will be looking at Arsenal for 29. He looked amazing again. 90 minutes, 10 points in the bag. But again, West Ham, Liverpool to come. But I think Arsenal players from 31 and 32 could look pretty appealing with Sheffield, Fulham. Everton's not a terrible fixture, then Newcastle and West Brom. So that kind of spell from 31 to 35 for Arsenal is really appealing. Liverpool aren't even that hard a fixture compared to what they used to be either. Yeah. West Ham
they have the benefit of actually having a game this game week, so there's obviously a small pool of players to pick from. So if they're a cheap Arsenal option in now, if you've got a deep squad, you can maybe bench him for the sort of harder games. But Arsenal playing 29, they're looking much better under Arteta. They've just beat a good Spurs side. Odegaard, is he going to remain nailed game time? I guess so now. Now he's in better form. He scored, not so much better form, just sort of obviously settled in at Arsenal a bit more now. He scored a really good goal in the Europa League as well, didn't he? From distance. And I guess the goal against Spurs was a little bit lucky in terms of how it went in. But he could be a good option actually. He's not one I've actually seriously considered too much.
It's more just as a differential. A lot of people, a lot of talk, I've realised in the last 2 or 3 weeks, differential talk is really ramping up. Getting a lot of questions about it, seeing a lot of talk about it. So if you're looking at differential, 0.7% ownership at time of recording. Yeah. I mean, if we look, and Saka is the obvious choice, bit cheaper, been solid, bit more nailed, but he's got that injury now. So, where do you go in Arsenal for a budget player? Smith Rowe? I don't know. I don't think Odegaard is the worst pick in terms of differentials, in terms of form. Once we get West Ham and Liverpool out of the way, which he could get something in, you've got 4 solid fixtures out of 5. So, look, just a shout.
No, good shout. I think you also tipped... gave a shout out to Lamella the other day as well, which I obviously worked out for the goal, but then he got himself sent off. So
yeah, heartbreaking. Was it Lamela or was it Lucas Moura?
No, on the pod. This was a few weeks back now.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you shouted out Lamela, but you did say that
Lamela.
you did say like don't go there, but you just sort of highlighting it. And then he came off the bench for Son, scored a wonder goal, then gets himself sent off. But thinking about Lamela, he's just a player I would actually hate to own in FPL, thinking about because of how reckless he is. And I was surprised. Yeah, he was a red card waiting to happen in that game. He just kept
absolutely.
He was on a yellow card and just kept putting in challenges.
I seen there was a challenge that he was lucky not to get a second yellow in before that one.
Yeah,
do you know?
Yeah.
Now look, I don't know. I seen the second yellow. Do you know what? Wes, right? And this is actually, I kind of get that one. Yeah, you could say there was malice in it, right? I get it. Look, it's just it's a contact sport. Do you know what I mean? You throw your arm out. Look, whether or not he intentionally meant to slap him in the face, I don't know. But something that does my tits in with football in general, and I just don't get why they don't bring it in. Diving, dramatising things. Like, we've seen Phil Foden nearly get fucking chopped down last week, and he gets up and tries to get the ball in the net, and it really made me admire him as a player so much more. You watch rugby, you watch other sports, the respect towards the referees, the gamesmanship, the sportsmanship. You watch football and it's a fucking disgrace. And what I would love to see, and I just don't get why they don't bring it in. I just don't get why. Retrospective bans for diving, or even, do you know what it is? Take a hard long look at yourself, lads. You know, whenever someone gets a flick in the face, or if someone bumps into them, or some bullshit, and they go down holding their face screaming, you're probably like a 32-year-old man with kids. What the fuck are you playing at? It does my tits in. It actually really, really annoys me about the game.
That's why the rules need to change it, because if you get a little slap in the face and you just stay stood up, the other player, you don't get a red card for the other team. And if you want to win as that team, you want to do everything you can. And same with Phil Foden. He obviously gets up and tries to score, and he's punished. He should have
stayed down. You know?
Well, that's what. Next time he'll do that, because he's been punished for it. He's been incorrectly punished. The referee and VAR should say, look, this guy has tried to get back on his feet, but he has been fouled. So therefore, the fact that he tried to get back up and take the shot is irrelevant. Foul's a foul. Give the penalty. But until the refs need to start doing that, otherwise, of course, if you're a striker and you think that you're not going to get the pen, you have to exaggerate it, because otherwise, winning for your team is the most important thing. That it's going to keep happening until the refs and the lawmakers actually change the way they officiate.
That's what I'm saying. There needs to be a different way of officiating. I really do think retrospective bans for like stonewall diving, like if you dive, if it's a blatant dive, or even this bullshit when someone gets flicked, they wait a second, then they fall over, hold their face and scream, and then they don't get the foul, so you see them bounce back up and sprint back. Like, do you know what I mean? Tell that guy to fuck off for 3 games and have a look at himself.
If I think there's a chance to score, you see them rolling around and it's like, oh, actually, the ball's back in play, I could score. They jump straight back up. Richarlison's one who loves rolling around loads. But yeah, loads of players do it. It's only going to happen more, isn't it, until they start changing something.
They need to, because it's embarrassing. It's nothing short of embarrassing. I just don't get why there's not more attention on it in the game. Anyway, Rich FPL, good friend. Any decent short-term punts between now and game week 31 that could be targeted with a late wild card in mind? So players for 29, 30, 31, I suppose he's looking at.
Yeah.
Who would you have a punt on?
So with that question, you realistically got to be bringing in someone who plays this game week as well. So that does narrow it down to the 8 teams for me, because obviously it is a short game week punt. So yeah, your boy Odegaard, like you said, so he's got West Ham this game week, but he's one of only 8 teams who play. Then it's Liverpool, and then it's Sheffield. Did the question say that wildcard in 31, or does it? Is he asking for a player who still plays in 31? Because if so, obviously Odegaard plays Sheffield United. I also like Trossard from Brighton. He'll be that's a punt. You go.
1 game punt on Trossard, says FPL Spy, just to give him a shout out for that. Knock another question out.
Yeah, if it is, so if you do want a 1 game punt, it's especially good to go someone like Trossard, because he's got Newcastle at home, 1.2% owned, and yeah, you can get rid of him straight afterwards, because he is one of those players he's got a lot of quality and a lot of ability, but he can frustrate as an FPL asset. But yeah, it's like when you're on a free hit. Like on my free hit team a little while ago, I had players like Lacazette and other players that I definitely wouldn't like owning long term, but for a 1 week punt I don't mind. So yeah, these players we're mentioning now, if you're listening in and you don't have a wild card, like you said, the positions we're in, John, we need to be thinking a bit more longer term. So I'm not suggesting Trossard for to keep him for the rest of the season, but yeah, 1 week punt Trossard. After that, he's got Man United away and Everton, so not amazing fixtures, but yeah, I still do like him as a punty type pick.
Can I throw one at you?
Yeah.
Lucas Moura.
I was just looking at him as well, actually.
It's right. Yeah. Hear me out. It was kind of funny when I said it because obviously you couldn't make the John Dyke show this week, Fox Sports Asia, so you drafted in your double up friend John. I went in and I was like crawling around for differentials, and like Odegaard, who I think is a great differential now, last week had like that tough fixture with Spurs, so like he wasn't really in the thoughts, and there was a few others who we pointed out now, and I'm kind of like, geez, that's quite low ownership. Lucas Moura, with very, very low ownership, was one of the differentials I picked at like 1%. Now, he was probably one of the highest scoring Spurs players there with his assist. And I think he had a decent game.
Probably the highest, yeah.
Yeah, he had a couple of chances, got 5 points. He has got a couple of goals over the last few weeks. Well, not the last couple of weeks, but before that, he'd back-to-back goals against West Ham and Burnley. And the reason I'm saying him is, with this Son injury, it just further cements him. As a player, I think.
And Lamella's going to obviously have
the ban.
It was 2 yellows, wasn't it? So it will only be 1 game. But yeah, like I can't see Lucas Moura not starting with Son out and with Lamella out. It's going to be very unlikely that he'll miss out now. Yeah.
Villa and then Newcastle. Now 1 week punt. Don't know. Villa strong enough in defence. Spurs without Son, whatever else. But Newcastle away in game week 30. There's much worse players to have in your team than Lucas Moura. But that's just a sort of couple of week punt there, maybe. If you can't afford the more premium Spurs lads, or you need to get rid of Son but still won't cover. Yeah. Maybe.
And I guess the only other players I want to that's good. Yeah, it's a good shout. And again, just to reiterate, we are talking about short-term punts here. We're not talking about players that you want for a long term. But I guess the other options are Villa. We can't, we all know about those guys. Really, they're not sort of punty. Grealish. Again, watch out for injury news. We were speaking off air, John, weren't we, that he might be back this week of fixtures, but you really want to be sure that he is going to be back, because obviously this week no one's going to really have a bench to pick from, to rely on. So you do want nailed on players. So if he isn't going to play, then yeah, don't go near him. But that's an option. And West Ham, they've got Arsenal this week, but they've still got some good assets. Jesse Lingard, Dawson is a real threat from corners, cheap defender there. So yeah, I think that's a lot of punty type picks, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we picked a good few there. We'll do one or more questions, I suppose. Lee Carruthers asked, what would you do with Son and Bamford? We've kind of discussed the fact that they're injured and the injuries. So yeah, it kind of Bamford I'd be keeping. I think we discussed maybe it could be a good idea to move Son on based on the likelihood he's out, but I think a lot of the advice around that would need to be for later in the week, so maybe we can revisit that on the stream on Thursday, 8 p.m.
Yeah, good idea.
Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Who would you bring in for Salah? Now, obviously, we don't know how Salah played tonight because it's not tonight yet, but he's obviously talking about getting rid of Salah this week.
Yeah.
Who would you bring in?
So again, it depends on what the squad you've already got. So I'm potentially looking at Salah out this week. My early thoughts before this game kicked off was the midfielders I was going to target to go along with. I've already got Lingard, Rafinha for this week, and I was going to bench Fernandes because I want to keep him long term. And I was thinking about Salah and Gundogan to players like Bale and Son, but obviously that's kind of out the window now because of obviously Son's injury. Bale, I'm now getting a bit of cold feet about again because of how he was dragged because he wasn't playing very well against Arsenal. So. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Again, something we could probably revisit on the Thursday stream because it's up in the air. But yeah, I guess the players we've already covered off. Bale is still a good option. Players like Trossard if you're on a 1 week pick, Lingard. Other than that, we kind of covered everyone off. You want to be obviously targeting players who played this week. Rafinha, if you haven't got him, obviously plays Fulham this week. So yeah.
LWS Gaming, Bale or Lingard to replace Son, who looks like he's now out. Lingard is nailed but harder fixture. So again, same sort of question. Everyone's looking who to replace Son with. And again, that you kind of covered this already. It all depends on your squad. It depends on your budget. It depends on a lot of things. So yeah, Bale or Lingard. He's asking if you had to pick one to forget about the prices. Bale or Lingard, pick one.
Right now on Monday the 15th, I'd go Lingard because I'd know that. I'm very confident next game Lingard is going to play 90 minutes. I'm not so sure on Bale because of obviously the Europa League and how he played versus Arsenal. So yeah, I would be I would be going Lingard out of those two. I might end up with both, but yeah, Lingard would be my first choice out of those two.
Couple of people asking about when to play their wild cards and transfers and stuff, but look, that's a little bit too specific in terms of we don't know your team, and we don't know your structure, we don't know what chips you've left, so it's very, very hard to advise on that without having a bit more, and even then it's a very specific case and not great for podcast listening. So
exactly. All I would say is it's probably not best to do it this game week because of obviously how many players blank. If possible, excuse me, if possible, do wait for week 30/week 31 when you can then just set up for the rest of the season rather than, this game week, so many big players and good players don't play. The likes of Fernandes, Luke Shaw, loads of options, Man City options, Liverpool options. So yeah, I don't think this is the right week to be wildcarding.
At FPL Jim says, why am I so fucked? I have no idea, FPL Jim. You don't even allude to it on your Twitter. This is just a random account saying, why am I so fucked? I don't know. I hope you're okay. I hope your team didn't do too badly this week. Sounds like it did.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry to hear that, Jim. But yeah, we don't know why you're so fucked, unfortunately.
Keep fighting the good fight. FPL Trophy, last question of the day. What do you think is the minimum amount of players we should go into game week 29 with? And I think for me on this was, we were maybe saying 7, 8, 9, something like that, maybe last week. I almost feel like the bar's been lowered with this Son and Bamford kicking the stones for a lot of people. A lot of people won't have it in them to take the hits. A lot of people, we don't know if Bamford's going to play or not play. We'll find out later in the week again, but I don't know, where I was maybe looking to have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was probably going to have 8 playing. Now I'm realistically looking at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I'm just going to expect to take a bit of a beating this week. But
yes, so it depends how you, exactly right, yeah. Depends how you want to play. If you're averse to taking minus point hits and you've got, like I said, you've got those issues in your team, John, then yeah, you could go into it with a lower number of players. I know that in the last, when we free hit John, which was blank game week 19, I believe, people that, I know that I help on over WhatsApp were saved their free hit chip actually and just went into it with like the main players. I think they had maybe 7 or 8, and they actually came out of, because that game week was low, we didn't do that well on our free hit because of, the best picks that game week just didn't really work out. I think Arsenal had a decent home game, didn't they? But they didn't really fire and stuff like that. So the people who saved their free hit there like kind of got away with one, and the same could happen again if there's not many FPL points flying around this game week. Then John, you're only going to go into this with maybe 6 or 7 players. Maybe you get 28 points, and then maybe someone who has free hit gets maybe just 38 or 40. So it won't be that big of a difference, if you know what I mean. So I think it will be a low scoring week. So it'll be an okay week to have maybe a minor red arrow and then just kick on. For me, I can get, assuming nothing goes wrong with my squad, I can get up to 9 with my free transfers. I'm looking to play this fairly, I guess the word would be aggressively, and probably take a -8 to fill in those blanks and get up to 11 players. Just because that's something I want to do. And, earlier on in the week when, in terms of Salah, who's not firing at the minute, and Gundogan, like I said, being Gundogan and Cancelo, the players I want to take out, I'm not going to miss. And the players I wanted to bring in were like high potential players, the likes of Dawson, Cresswell, Bale, Son. Obviously, I'll have to readjust my plans now with the injuries. But yeah, I'm looking to take the -8 to get up to 11. But yeah, just to kind of go back to the question itself, I don't think the way you're going to play it is necessarily a bad idea, and I don't think the way I'm going to play it is obviously a bad idea. Which way works out? I might get punished for my -8. I might bring in 2 players at blank, and therefore just doing nothing would have been better. But yeah, that's how I think I'm going to play it.
Yeah, just different strategies that, maybe over 1 week one might prevail, and then over the course of 6 the other one will. Who knows?
Exactly.
But we'll move on just to, transfers and captaincy. If you want to give us the exact transfers you think you're going to make, you've already kind of alluded to them. If you want to lay them out, and if you're not 100% sure or can't be arsed because it's quite complex, we can move on to captaincy. But
yeah, I'll touch on it briefly because there's still some areas where I'm unsure of. So I'm looking at Cancelo, Gundogan, Salah, and then one of Rudiger or Shaw out for maybe a West Ham double up in defence, like I spoke about last week in the pod, of Cresswell and Dawson. But likewise, I might still go for someone like Lewis Dunk instead of one of the West Ham guys. In midfield, it was going to be Bale and Son. Now, like I said, I'm getting cold feet about Bale and Son's injury. So yeah, it's back to the drawing board for me in a lot of ways, because I'm not sure which defender to take out of Shaw and Rudiger. They've both got pros and cons, obviously, and I'm not sure what midfielders to bring in now with the Son and Bale thing I just said about. And I don't know if I want Lewis Dunk or Craig Dawson, essentially. So yeah, there's a lot of things up in the air for me. And obviously now I've got when you make plans so far in advance, like I made these plans before these games happened, it's not necessarily a good idea to do that. I like to do it as like a rough rule of thumb, but I'm definitely flexible to change and update my plans as this week progresses, because like we've been speaking about, players like Trossard and Odegaard have just scored this week. They've got a fixture this week. Now we may be considering those guys. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be, that's a flexible, rough plan, and I'm going to be updating that and coming to a final decision Friday.
Yeah, I pretty much have no idea what I'm at with. I'm going to wait until more news later in the week, which, sorry about the podcasting there, lads, but Thursday's stream will probably have a better idea.
Yeah, no, it's the right way to play it as well, because, like I just said, transfers you might have in your mind now won't come to fruition or won't be the right ones or whatever, so it is better to wait for these European games and stuff like that. So it's the right way to play it, John.
Tentatively, I've one free transfer. I'm not averse to taking a -4, even a -8 if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Areas that I need to kind of have a look at are Pope is just burning a bit of cash, probably burning $1.5 million on the bench. I'll look to get rid of him at some stage, but it's not a priority for this week because of Martinez playing, so that's probably kicked down the road. Stones, Cancelo, as we've talked about, yeah, I'm open to maybe losing one. Gundogan, I'm probably going to try and get rid of very soon. Son, if it's a confirmed longer term injury, 3 or 4 week job, something like that, goodbye, sir. I've 2.3 million in the bank. I'm going to obviously have to keep Bale for another week. Rafinha, Bamford and Dallas will all stay for the week. Let's hope Bamford plays. Then I've got Vardy and I've got Calvert-Lewin that I'm going to have to just have a look at. So there's a lot of places, I could go Vardy to Keane very easily, but I just need to weigh out whether I want to be doing that. In fairness, Vardy has a blank and then Man City and West Ham bad fixtures again, so it might be worth flopping over to Kane for a couple of weeks and then maybe coming back. So
especially is that, just to touch on captaincy as well quickly, that's kind of at the minute mine, it's a no-brainer Kane for me, but again I'll be making the final decision after the Europa League games.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for me, basically transfers a little bit up in the air. Wait and see any injuries in the Europa League. Wait and see whatever else, but I'm not, as I say, I'm not averse to the -8, so it'll be between 1 and 3 transfers. Who knows? Captaincy, absolute no-brainer this week. Harry Kane, I think, is the only standout option. But we all know what it's like against Villa. Solid keeper, decent defence. It might be one of those weeks where it's 4-0 Spurs, but equally it could be 0-0 or 1-1 or something like that. And if that's the case, is it a good week to have another sort of punt on a captain? Quite feasibly,
I wouldn't be, again, it would be one of those where I wouldn't say, if someone came to me and said they wanted to captain players X, Y and Z that wasn't Harry Kane this week, if they were decent choices and they had a good chance of scoring points, I'd say, yeah, go for it, because like you said, this might be another good week. Like this week just gone, it was like the perfect storm for yourself with Vardy having Sheffield United at home. Not many people have Vardy anymore. Fernandes and Kane both having tough fixtures. Salah not on great form. So yeah, it was a perfect chance to go a bit different with your captain, whilst also you didn't take a gamble really because you was playing a top striker against the bottom of the league. So you managed to go like a differential captain without doing a stupid captain, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be adverse to... I'm looking at the fixtures there. I wouldn't captain someone from Newcastle personally, but
no.
Other than that, or maybe Fulham, no one really there stands out. But if you wanted to captain Rafinha against Fulham, fucking go for it. I'm not going to say that's ridiculous. Yeah. I know Fulham are solid enough, and I know it's probably a ballsy move, Wes, but Rafinha hasn't done much. But do you know what I mean? If someone said I'm captaining Bamford this week, I'd be like, all right, okay, as long as he's playing, obviously. Brighton, exactly. If someone's doing a 1 week punt on Trossard, fuck it, stick the armband on him, do you know?
It's at home to Newcastle, yeah. And also, like you said earlier, John, it's I think while you're getting a lot of... You said you were noticing a trend about differentials at the minute, and I think from now until the end of the season that will ramp up, because obviously how everyone plays FPL is you want to beat your mates in your mini league. We talk about overall ranks and stuff like that, but we also play like that. And if you are sitting second and third in your mini league, you're maybe 30, 40 points off the leader.
Brandy.
All of a sudden, yeah.
sorry, that's a dig at someone who listens to this podcast who's chased me all year. Sorry.
No, yeah, get that dig in, I like it. But yeah, now's the time to. Again, it's not, like I said, it's not how I play, but it definitely makes sense if you are chasing. Sort of maybe now's still a little bit too early because there is 10 game weeks left of the season, which is still 27% of the season roughly. Whereas once we're into sort of game week 34 onwards, then if you want to start chasing, start to go for risky picks to try and catch that mini league leader. It's definitely a valid strategy and one that makes total sense.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Have you anything you want to discuss other than what we've covered?
No, loved it again. Great episode, hopefully, and hopefully I've enjoyed listening.
Yeah, so look, people, don't do this bit. Where it's like the end of the podcast and then you leave? No, wait and listen to me plug stuff to you. So basically, do us a favour and subscribe to the podcast first and foremost. If you really, really like us and you're a good friend of the show, the best thing you can do is leave us a review. It really, really helps us shoot up those rankings. And I suppose the other best thing you can do is just tell someone about the podcast. The FPL community is a fun place. Lots of connections out there. We kind of started mid-season and never really promoted our stuff. So it's kind of like everyone has their little podcasts. Just go and say to your friend, let's say he's called Sam. Say, Sam, there's this podcast I listen to and it's great fun. I think you should give it a listen. And then who knows, maybe Sam will tell a friend as well. So yeah, do that for us. That was a long-winded way of saying help us promote our podcast, but
yeah, I like it. And also anyone who does give us a good review next week, John, we can read a couple out again.
Oh yeah, we can do that next week because otherwise I'll have to go searching now. We'll read a few out, so if anyone leaves them this week, maybe you'll get a big shout out. Who knows? But yeah, Wes, I think that's about it. You can find us on Twitter, both of us. Wes, you're FPL Heisenberg and I'm John Nellis, and thank you for listening. We'll chat to you again next week, or live stream Thursday night on Fantasy Football Hub's YouTube at 8 p.m. Yeah?
Nice one, John.
See you later.
Bye-bye.